Here we are going to discuss about how the hiring happens in an automotive industry. Okay, I'm going to explain in detail about the hiring process in automotive industry. So let's get into the. So I'm Praveen Kumar, and I'm the founder and CEO of Disenosys. I have 18 plus years in the automotive industry and mainly into powertrain. Okay, so I was into powertrain design for almost 18 years and have worked with Ford, Mustang. I have worked with different transmission projects. I worked with body in white and plastic drums as well. And apart from Ford, I have also worked with Ashok Leyland, Mercedes-Benz, Daimler, Ford, General Motors, Jaguar, and Land Rover. Jaguar, Land Rover, JLR. Okay, while JLR and Ford, we have a partnership. So while working with Ford, I have worked with the JLR as well. And apart from that, I have also worked with Mustang and Mazda cars as well. Okay, this is about me, my expertise. Okay, now let's get into the presentation. So for all of those who are looking to get into automotive, so how many of you are looking to get into automotive for a long time? How many of you have been trying to apply to a lot of jobs but not able to get a interview call or a job? Yeah, Vivek says me. Right. See, a lot of people might be looking for a job for almost long time. Okay. The reason, but you might not get interviews. The reason is automotive companies, they hire only twice a year. If you see the screen here, you can find a lot of openings from the mid of Jan. After Jan 20th, once they come off from their vacation, you can find a lot of jobs opening up. So from the mid of Jan, after Jan 20th till the end of March, by the end of March, the openings will be reducing. Okay. So till the end of March, you'll find a lot of openings. In February and March, you'll find lot of openings, like about 50 plus openings in automotive companies. So every company, automotive company, they might be recruiting around 50 to 100 people a year. Okay, including freshers and experienced altogether. Out of 50 to 100 openings, 90 plus openings would be for experienced people, about 3+ years experience. The remaining 10 openings would be for freshers. Okay, and all these 10 openings for freshers, you can find this in the month of February, usually. Okay, so this is what is happening in the market. But by the end of March, you can see that the number of openings will be completely reduced and it will close. By April, May, June, there won't be any openings in the market. They might be putting up job posts, but those will be only for experienced people, not for freshers. Okay, slowly again it will start opening by the mid of July and August. And August till the mid of September, there'll be slight number of openings, not as in February. Okay, so for example, in February, if there are 100 openings, in August, there will be around 30 to 40 openings for experienced and freshers. In February, if there are 10 openings for freshers, by August, there will be 2 to 3 openings only. Okay, so around only, you will get only 20 to 30% of openings in the month of July and August till September. Okay, so am I clear? So this is what is happening in the market. So you have to be ready by the time the openings are up in the market. If you're not ready by the time the openings are coming up, okay, you will have to wait for another 6 months. For example, if by August and September, if you're not able to get placed, then October, November, and December, there won't be any openings at all. So even if you're ready, if you have a certificate or if you have the right skill by the time, but if you're not ready by August or by February, you'll have to wait for another 6 months. So this is one of the main reason why a lot of candidates are not able to get employed, because they try to apply to companies by the time the openings comes up, but their skill set would not be enough. So if their skill set is not enough, the companies will not hire them. So if they when they get rejected, then they come out and then they plan how to get into a company. Then they improve their skill, and again they'll have to wait for other next 6 more months for the next opening. Am I clear till this point? Or able to understand what is happening in the market? Okay. So this is what is happening. So next, so now we have to get ready by the next opening. So now I'm just going to tell you what is the roadmap. Okay. So what is the skill set required? How do you get into an interview? How do you, okay. So first one is, so what is the career roadmap? So first thing, if you want to get into automotive design, you need to have good knowledge on the engineering fundamentals. That is a very basic thing. Okay, so you have to be very strong in your basic engineering. So any automotive company will be always looking your first thing was your basic qualification is mechanical engineering. So there is no other option. People from electronics or computer science background or people from a different engineering background cannot move into automotive design without this basic qualification. That does not mean that if you have a mechanical engineering background, you can easily get a job. No. So the basic skill set is your engineering fundamental, then your software basics. Okay, so let's say if you want to move into automotive, we'll be only looking for CATIA. So now when I say if you are looking, if you have skill set in SolidWorks or if you are good at Creo, if you are good at ANSYS, no, that's not required for an automotive company. Okay, so automotive company looks for a people who are very good at CATIA V5. So engineering basics is very, very important. Now, once you learn, have the good knowledge on engineering basics, then we look for a domain knowledge. Your domain knowledge can be body in white, plastics, engine design, transmission design, chassis design, steering system, suspension, brakes. It can be anything. But usually, if I talk about engine, powertrain, transmission, chassis, or steering system, suspension, brake, for all these domain, you need minimum 3 or 4 years relevant experience in any automotive company. Without this relevant experience in automotive company, companies do not hire freshers into these domain. Am I clear? So companies hire freshers in two domains in the automotive industry, which is either body in white and trims. In these two domains, companies hire freshers. So that's why I have mentioned product knowledge. You should have good knowledge on body in white and trims. Either any one of them. That is more than enough. Okay. Then after you know your body in white or plastic trims, the domain knowledge, then you should have very good knowledge on the GD&T. Because I'm just in the next few slides, I'm going to show you a few interview questions, what we ask in the interview. So your GD&T knowledge is very, very important. So how good are you into applying GD&T? So knowing only the forms, knowing only the symbols does not make any difference. You need to know how to apply a GD&T symbol. You need to know how to apply, where to apply a bonus tolerance. So that is very important. Then you should have worked on some small projects. Okay, I'm talking about a design engineer for a fresher. Okay, you should have worked on some basic projects, not projects like creating water bottles. No, we look for people who have worked on automotive projects. Again, in the next few slides, I'm going to show you the projects. I'm going to show you what kind of skill set is required. Then your internship and portfolio is very, very important. Okay, so once you have worked on some small projects, include all the projects into your internship and portfolio. Okay, so you have to showcase your internship experience. You have to showcase your portfolio to the hiring manager, and then you have to prepare for the interview. So your interview, again, in the next few slides, going to show you what kind of interviews will come in what kind of tool test will come. Okay, so this is the process. Okay, to become a design engineer. These are all the basic requirement. These are mandatory skills which are required. These are not optional. Okay, am I clear? These are not optional. These are all very much highly required to get into automotive design. Am I clear till this point? Yeah, right. Perfect. Thank you, Rahul. And coming down to the career roadmap. Okay, so what do companies expect from a fresher and what mistakes they make? I'm going to talk about that. So let's say your fundamental skills is more important than your software knowledge. So I have seen people who say, I know CATIA, I know Creo, I know SolidWorks, I know ANSYS, I know Hypermesh, I know everything. But when they go for an interview, they won't be able to perform well. Okay, because they know only the basics of all the software, which is not sufficient for any tool test or which is not sufficient to get a job. Okay, so don't focus on multiple software. Okay, so your fundamentals is very, very important. Then comes your GD&T basics. Okay, we look for people who are very good at GD&T. Then your packaging. Okay, so your vehicle integration. Okay, so you need to know where a part goes and sits. You need to know how to assemble a part. Packaging is very, very important. So you need to know the order. So how do we assemble a component in an automotive car, in a car or in a truck? Your DFME, okay, design for manufacturing and design for assembly, DFA. So how do you design a product? How do you design a component based on the manufacturing? How do you design a product based on the assembly sequence? These are very, very important. Again, I have few questions coming up. I'll show you in DFM what kind of questions we ask. Then your problems for solving ability. Okay, so in an interview, we might give you a question based on the actual industrial scenario. Okay, so you have to understand the scenario and you have to find a solution for that. Okay, that is very, very important. And very, very important is your communication skill. So as much as your technical skill is important, your communication is very, very important, because in your day-to-day design life, you would be talking to your quality team, you'd be talking to the manufacturing team, you'd be talking to your management, you'd be talking to the design team from a different country. So you have to express your thinking, thoughts properly. You have to express your design properly. So your communication and documentation skill is very, very important in automotive company. So the basic mistakes what freshers make, they learn multiple software, not required. We don't hire such people, okay, who know multiple software. We are looking for only a person who is good at only one software, and he has to be an expert in that. That is more than enough. Okay, and I've seen many people blindly doing courses without understanding what is the requirement. Okay, so you're just wasting your time and you're wasting your money if you're doing a blind course without understanding the domain or without understanding what is happening in the market. Okay, and no portfolio. If you don't have a strong portfolio, you're not in. You're weak fundamentals, because you're in an interview. We check for the fundamentals first thing. If you have a weak fundamental on strength of materials or dynamics or kinematics, these are basic things. Okay, the basic your engineering knowledge is very, very important for automotive design. Okay, and if you don't have a clarity on how things happen in an automotive OEM, not required. Okay, so now you have to understand what is body in white, what is a rolling vehicle structure. Okay, so these you need to know. You need to know why BAW engineers are demand or in demand. Okay, so can anyone of you tell you what is body in white? Can anyone of you tell me what is body in white? Do you know what is body in white? See, let me explain. Body in white is the sheet metal part of the car. Okay, so if you see the sheet metal part of the car, it's completely made out of steel, sometimes aluminum as well. Okay, so that's why we call it as body in white. Okay, so body in white is used for the structural integrity of a car. It acts as the skeleton of the car. It acts as the impact resistance of the car. Okay, so it acts as a safety feature of the car. So if your body in white of a car is very strong, you get a higher NCAP rating. Okay, you know what is NCAP rating, right? So when they do a crash test, they check the safety of a car. That is called as NCAP rating. So if the body in white of a car is good, your NCAP rating will increase. Okay, usually you see that in Tata cars. Tata cars have a high 5-star rating, right? That is because their body in white is very, very strong. And what are the BW areas? Body in white, underbody. So you need to know what is underbody. See, this is called the underbody of the car. Okay, this is called the platform of the car. Okay, so you have this is the underbody. Then this becomes the upper body of the car. Upper body and the roof. Till the roof, this forms the upper body of the car. And what is closure? So if you see this, we have a bonnet here coming up here, right? So we'll have a bonnet coming up here. See, bonnet is a closure. Your doors are closures. This is a closure, and your tailgate. Your tailgate is a closure, and your roof is also a closure component. So these are all closure parts in a car. And why body in white is important for job? Okay, so because it's safe, safety and structural requirements are very important, and there are huge number of openings for body in white in automotive design. So if you're a fresher looking to get into automotive design, focus on body in white or plastics. So these are the two domains in automotive company who recruit freshers. Okay, so now interior trims. What are plastics? So the interior dashboard, the steering system, okay, your seat. These are all your seat, these panel, right? These are all called as interior trims. They come on inside the car. Okay, then your exterior trims, your outer, we call it as ORVM, outer rear view mirror, ORVM. And this is inner IRVM, inner rear view mirror. So inner IRVM will come under interiors and ORVM will come under exteriors. Okay. And okay, so your bumper is an exterior component. Your headlights, they are exterior component. Okay, your roof rails, they are exterior component. Your wheel covers come under exterior component. So each company's your grills, every company has separate team for interiors and separate team for exteriors. So focus on plastic trims if you want to get into automotive design. Then your typical components in the sense like you'll have rear mat, floor mat, those will come under experience. Yeah. So what are the key skills required? We look for people who know basics of draft angle, okay, draft analysis, who can do that, who can understand thickness, and who can understand the attachment methods. Okay. Now, few of the points which companies are looking for. Okay. So what we look for. So here, first thing is your engineering understanding, your basic understanding of the engineering is very, very important. Okay. Then you need to understand how to read a drawing. Okay. So if I'm giving you a complete big engineering drawing, you should know what is the front view, what is the top view, what is orthographic view. You need to know, understand, you need to read GD&T skills, GD&T symbols. What is a modifier? Okay, see here you can see a modifier. So this is called as M. M stands for maximum material condition. M actually it should be in a circular round. Okay, M stands for what is MMC? What is maximum material condition? What is maximum material boundary? MMB. What is LMC? What is the LMB? What is RFS? Regardless of feature of safety. What is the feature of safety? Sorry, feature of size. Okay, we call it as RFS, feature of size. What is the feature of size? What are dimensions? Okay, what is the datum target? What is the datum? What is the datum target? So you need to know what is basic GD&T. You have to understand. You have to understand how to give a tolerance. What is the unilateral tolerance? What is the bilateral tolerance? Okay, so how do you define a tolerance? How do you decide how much tolerance to be given? Do you know how do you decide how to give a tolerance? It's completely based on the functionality of the part. It's completely based on the manufacturability of the part. Okay, design for manufacturability, DFM. DFM is very, very important. DFA is very important. Okay, so now how interviews are conducted? Round one, again, I have a complete slide for that. I'm going to explain in detail in that. Okay, your next comes your case studies. Yeah, here comes the interview questions. Okay, so if you see the interview questions, these are the kind of interview questions we usually ask a fresher. Okay, so the first one is from GD&T. So we are asking, okay, so we'll give you a dimension, we'll give you a drawing, we'll show you a dimension, we'll show you this maximum material condition. We'll ask you like, okay, so if I'm giving you this kind of maximum material condition, how it is going to affect the positional tolerance? Okay, so how does the bonus tolerance work here in this case? If I'm giving you this 0.0, I'm giving 0, but as a bonus tolerance. So how does this bonus tolerance affect the dimension? Okay, so you need to draw the definition of this tolerance and explain how it is going to affect the dimension. Okay, so this is from GD&T. Now this is from this question is from basically from DFM, design for manufacturability. So if I'm using injection molding as my manufacturing process, and I'm designing a door trim panel. Okay, so I'll be asking more questions on the ribs. I might ask more questions on the clips. How do I manufacture a clip? How do I manufacture a rib? Okay, so if I'm going to manufacture that, what would be the defects I might get in my manufacturing? Once I get that particular defect, how can I troubleshoot it? How can I correct it properly? That is very, very important. Okay, so this question is on DFM. Then now your next question, it can be on manufacturing process. It can be on your standards. I can ask you questions saying everything on standards. This is the third question is basically on, we check how you decide the manufacturing process. How do you decide a component? Okay, it's mainly on your decision making skill set. Okay, so your decision making skill set we check. How do you design a product? Okay, so understand very clearly, to become a design engineer, if you know the CAD skills, that is not enough. Knowing only the CAD, AutoCAD, of course, it's not sufficient. If you know CATIA, learning CATIA is not enough. Even if you know remastering, if you know close volume, if you know master sections, everything. If you know everything, even if you are an expert in CATIA, you can't become a design engineer if you don't know this domain knowledge. Am I clear? This is what we look for. As a hiring manager, we look for this skill set. Am I clear till this point? Do we have any questions? Are we clear? Can I move to the next slide? Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Sajal. So this is the expectation of a fresher or a 0 to 3 year experienced person in an automotive OEM. Okay. When we move to higher experience role, the interview questions will become much more difficult. Okay. So I've seen a lot of people who have more than 5 years experience in automotive OEM, but still struggling to get a job. The reason is they don't have this skill set. They might have joined a company. They might have started working on some 2D or 3D modeling, but without having understanding of the NPD process or without understanding the actual design process, you can't get into a better job. Because if you lose a job doing only 2D and 3D modeling, if you moving to a next job would be very, very tough. Okay, understand this very clearly. I have seen people with 5, 6 years experience struggling to get a job. So don't do that mistake. Okay, now when next comes, okay, your portfolio and resume preparation. Okay, so how do you prepare a good portfolio? Okay, so your portfolio should contain projects related to automotive. See, for example, if you see on the screen, the person who has made this portfolio would be working on IP subassembly. Under IP subassembly, IP panel, he would have worked on a air vent. This is an IP subassembly, complete a subassembly of IP trims. So he should have worked on air vents. He should have designed the center fascia. He should have also designed the air vent system or center air vent system. Center vent. He should have worked on the glow box assembly. He should have worked on the side air vent assembly. He should have worked on the IP mask. He should have worked on the door lower panel. Okay, so these are the very much requirement for automotive companies. So your portfolio should contain automotive components. I've seen people who show portfolio on aeroplane, boat, water bottle, mouse design. No, having knowledge on working on a different component is okay, but not sufficient to move into automotive. Okay. Now your surface remastering projects. You should have worked on projects based on your surface remastering. Okay. These are all the input. Okay. You will get the input non-parametric part or a dump surface. Okay. So from the dump surface, you need to know how to create a parametric model. From this dump surface, you need to know how to create this model. Okay. So here, if you see, okay. Yeah. So, okay, this is actually a sheet metal model. Okay. So a non-parametric, this is a non-parametric model. Okay. It's a complete solid. So your first kind of tool test will be this one. Okay. So you should have worked, you should know what is remastering. You should know how to create a dump surface. So from this, the candidate has created this part here. Okay. So this is the final component. So how did he create it? So anyone can create a parametric model. This is a parametric model. Anyone can create this parametric model from a dump surface. But what is more important is this one here. This master geometry, what commands you're using. This is actually a very, very simple component. Okay. So since because it's a simple component, we just check this construction element. Okay. So how he has created. So the tree is very, very important. For any automotive company, we check how the candidate is making the tree. So making the tree is important, and using the right command is very, very important. So if you're using fill, if you're using boundary, there are certain commands you're not supposed to use. If you're using these commands and making the component, then you'll be rejected. Even if you complete the model properly, even if you complete the tool test, if you're using the wrong command, you'll be rejected from the interview. Am I clear? So your usage of command, the ordering, okay, how do you order? How do you create the tree is will carry 60% of the weightage, 60 to 70% of the weightage will focus, we focus mainly on the tree. Am I clear? So this is important. So if you take, this is actually a rear camera. Again, this is the reference geometry. So they'll give you only the reference here. Okay, this is actually the reference. This is actually the class A surface. Okay, this is what I'm showing you here is a closed volume. Okay, so in the closed volume, we'll be giving you only the class A surface. From the class A surface, you will have to create the class B. So this is the class B surface and the engineering features. So how do we make it? So first we make the class A surface. So here first we make the class A surface. Then we make the class B surface. So this is the class B. Okay, so this is the class B surface. So now so he has made it. See, class B also you have multiple options. So you have to make this properly. How to create a offset? How do you create a join? How do you create this offset? You can't directly create. Yeah, you can once you create the class A window, you can offset it. You can't extract the surface from your dump surface. So creating class A is the first thing. Okay. So you have, for creating class A, you have these many surfaces to be created. For creating a class A, you have to create these many surfaces. You have to create one by one. So this is the first surface. So he has created the second surface here. So how did he create it? Okay. So usually you're not supposed to extract it. Okay. So that is very, very important. So creating the extract is wrong. So how do you create a class A surface and how do you create a class B? Then he has created a class B here. Then after creating the class B, then he has moved to the class C. So what is class C here? Okay, this is the class C. Okay, then after creating class C, then he has trimmed it properly. So after you create this, then only you get the closed body. So that is very, very important. So once you create the closed body, so now he has created the closed body. So now he has completed the class A. From class A, he has created class B. From class B, he has created class C. And after creating class C, he has created a closed body. After creating the closed body, then comes the engineering features. So now the engineering features are these features. So how do you create this kind of this? How do you create a closed body here? How do you create a boss? Okay. So there are some certain, see, you can't directly go and place the boss, or you can't place a stiffener anywhere. There are certain rules and regulations in automotive industry. You need to know the distance requirement. How much distance should be given? What should be the radius? What should be the size of this stiffener or size of the boss here? So everything you had, there is a standard and you need to know the standard to clear the tool test. So this is the second kind of tool test. So this is what I was saying, remastering and closed volume. So what we have seen is the closed volume. So your portfolio should contain the closed volume projects. Your portfolio should contain the remastering projects. Then your concept design using master section. So in an interview, we might give you only the master section. We might give you only this one. Based on this input, you will have to create this concept design. You will have to create this component. This is called master sections. Creating a concept using master section. And your resume should be a one-page resume because you are a fresher. Okay. Always manage or maintain a one-page resume. Then your highlight your skills. Okay. Your skills is very, very important. Your projects is very, very important than what course you had doing. Okay. So again, as I told you, I don't hire people who know AutoCAD, Creo, multiple software. No, we don't hire such people. We hire only people who have worked on these kind of projects based on your automotive industry. That is very, very important. Okay, your images, your models, these are very, very important. Okay, now comes the hiring process. Okay, are we having any questions till this point? Before we move into the hiring process, do we have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, are we clear? Right. So now comes the interview process. Your first round of tool test would be it will always be a tool test in using CATIA V5 because we are working in automotive. We'll be using CATIA only. Okay, we don't use SolidWorks, we don't use Creo, we don't use NX. We use, but only for experienced people. We have NX openings. In automotive, 80% of the companies use CATIA V5, 20% of companies use NX. So if you're a fresher and looking to get into automotive design, then focus on CATIA V5. That is more than enough. Okay, so now comes the tool test part. Your tool test will only be in CATIA V5. In CATIA V5, we'll give you dimension drawings like this. So you have to know where to start. So if I'm giving you this part, you can't start directly from this point. You can't start from this point. So you need to know where is the datum. So your datum, so how do we start from the datum? Which is going to be the datum? How do you define a datum? If they have not given a datum here, how do you define a datum? So you have to know the functionality of the part. So based on the datum only, we will start the modeling. So which is going to be a primary datum, which is going to be a secondary datum, which is going to be a tertiary datum, A, B, C, A datum, B datum, and C datum. So you need to know, you have to create this component based on the datums. You need to know the structure. And you can't use pocket, there are a lot of commands which you are not supposed to use. So if you use pocket command, we'll be rejecting you. If you use a whole command, we reject you. Sometimes whole command is acceptable, but mainly we use multi-body methods. So if you know multi-body methodology, then you have to use multi-body methodology to create this part. So even for starting from 2D to 3D, 2D to 3D is actually the simplest form of tool test. And for the simplest form of tool test, we'll be seeing all these criteria. Yeah, these criteria are very, very important. Then your second kind of tool test would be remastering. You have to know how to create a 2D to 3D object using the right methodology. Second tool test would be on remastering. Okay, so we'll give you this input. This component will give you as an input. From the input, you'll have to understand how to create a parametric part. So as I told you, I showed you, right? This is actually the input. So this is the input. From the input, he has created the top surface first, then top surface 2. So how do we create? He can't directly extract this part. He has to create a line and he has to create a point. He has to create planes, he has to create lines, he has to create points. Okay, so then he has to create this. Then third top surface, then mid surface. He has created the mid surface, then the trim, then the edge fillets, then he creates the side surfaces, then the fillets. Okay, so this is how he has to create it. Then finally, if he creates it, then he finally creates the join object. Okay, so this is the final split. And finally, after he splits it, he creates a joins, he joins it. Once he joins it, so this is the final remaster. This is a very, very simple exercise. Okay, so because of the simple exercise, he can say usually companies use as this kind of tool test. Okay, so you'll get for a fresher, you'll get very simple remastering exercises or projects like yeah, you'll models. You'll have to create it. After you create it, you should be able to create a dump, add thickness to it. This is where a lot of people will struggle. Okay, because if your model is not proper, you will not be able to create a thick surface. It will throw error. If your model is not proper, you won't be able to create this. That's how companies, we always see if you have completed a part correctly or wrong. If your join is not proper, you won't be able to give a thick surface to it. So a lot of people can complete till this point, but when they give thick surface, they'll fail in this region because there might be a lot of they might have a lot of gaps here, or few surfaces might be overlapping over each other. If that is the case, you won't be able to give thick surface. So if you are finally able to give thick surface, then you are selected in the interview. Am I clear? This is the second kind of tool test in automotive company. So first will be either 2D to 3D, or moving forward, you might have remastering. So even in remastering, we might ask you to complete this remastering part, and we might ask you to make some changes. For example, if the total distance between the part, this object is 54, we might ask you to reduce it to 37. So you have to create it properly, parametrically, to reduce it. With the gum surface, you might not be able to reduce it, or even with the extracted surface, you won't be able to reduce it. So you can only reduce it once you make it parametric. So here we'll check whether you are able to make it parametric or not by asking you to make some changes here. Okay, and the third kind of tool test, I did not include this in the slide. The third kind of tool test is your close volume. As I showed you how to create a close volume and how to create the engineering features. This is the third kind of tool test. You have to create the class A. After creating class A, you have to create class B. After creating class B, you have to create class C. And after create your class C, then you have to add thick surface. After you create a thick surface, you'll have to add the engineering features. Any questions till this point?
Sir.
Okay. So this is the third kind of tool test. And finally, the last kind of tool test. This is actually a tool test we got from Segla. Okay, we are hiring for Segla. So see, usually companies will give you this kind of master section. Okay, this is called a master section. You will get surrounding data. From the surrounding data, we will be giving you a master section. Okay, so this is a master section which we will be giving you. Okay, so the surfaces will give you, but this is a master section. So you have to understand this master section, and you'll have to use understanding this master section. You'll have to create this component. So this is the final component that you have to create by using the master section. By using this master section, you'll have to create this final component. Okay, so for this, you will be creating all this data. Do you understand? This is actually the toughest form of tool test in any automotive company. So usually, if you know how to create a master, how to understand a master section, or how to create a geometry, you're almost selected in any automotive company. Okay, this is the basic requirement. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Using the master section, you have to create a final component. Are we clear about the requirement? So these are the final tool tests in automotive company. So once you clear the tool test, then you move to the second round of interview. So this is once if you are clearing the first round of interview, you move to the second round of interview. In the second round of interview, the questions will be more on the automotive domain. So for example, if I'm going to ask, if I'm going to hire you for automotive trims, my question will be on, so what kind of plastic material are we using for a dashboard of a car? For creating a dashboard, what material do we use? For creating a bumper of a car, what material we use? You need to know the material selection. How do we select a material? What material we select? So for example, we usually use ABS for dashboard of a car. So if you are saying we use ABS for dashboard of a car, we use polypropylene for a bumper of a car. We use polyamide for a seat rest. We use polyamide for a headrest. We use polyethylene for fuel system. Okay, my next question will be right. Why do we use polyethylene for fuel system? Why can't I use ABS there? Why do we use ABS for dashboard of a car? Why can't I use polypropylene there? See, we 90% of automotive cars use polypropylene. If we are using 90% of polypropylene in automotive, why can't I use polypropylene in using in dashboard? Why am I using ABS there? You need to know the property of ABS. Okay, so if you're saying, okay, the reason, then my question, okay, so okay, what kind of manufacturing method we use for creating a dashboard? For creating a dashboard, we might use a different manufacturing method. For creating a bumper of a car, we use a different method. Okay, are we using injection molding? Are we using ejection molding? Extrusion molding? Are we using blow molding? Are we using rotational molding? Where we use thermoforming? Okay, so you need to know what is thermoforming. What components in a car will be made using thermoforming? These are all very, very basic skills which are very, very important to get into any automotive company. So this is a second round of interview. In the second round of interview, I'll be giving you questions on GD&T. I'll be asking you questions on GD&T. I might be asking you questions on stack-up tolerancing. I might be asking question on DFM, design for manufacturability, design for assembly, design for cost. I can ask you any questions. I can ask you questions on PPAP. I can ask you questions on APQP. Okay, understood, right? So these are the second round of technical interview to be asked in any automotive company. Are we clear till this point? Any questions? So now tell me, this is what automotive companies look for in a fresher. Now, there are so many freshers here. How many freshers here know all this concept? Can you type yes or no? Do you know all this concept? If you know all this concept, you can type yes. If you don't know this concept, you can type no. Okay, so let's forget about the technical round. Let's talk about the tool test. I said you need to know 2D to 3D, you need to know remastering, you need to know close volume, you need to know how to create a engineering feature, you need to know how to work with master sections. These 5 things. How many of you know these 5 concepts? The first round of tool to clear the first round of tool test, you need this 5 knowledge. How many of you know these things? Okay, little, right. So once you know the first concept, then so the reason why, see, coming down to the part, a lot of freshers do not have knowledge on these concept. Am I right? Do you accept? A lot of freshers do not have knowledge on these concepts, and these are the skills which are required to work in any automotive company. So currently, a lot of companies are working only on remastering and close volume. Because when you work on automotive concept design, you have to know close volume. If you are working on reverse engineering, you have to know remastering. Okay, because that is a basic skill set that is going to be your day-to-day task in any automotive company. So if you don't know the skill set, do you think companies will take you in and train you? No, companies do not take in people and train them. They need people who already have the skill set. That is why when you look for any job in Naukri or LinkedIn, they'll be looking for people with 5 to 10 years experience, 4 to 7 years experience. Okay, that is why they don't hire freshers, because freshers do not have the right skill. So that is why they hire only experienced people. So because they don't have to train them. Okay, what Disenosys we do is we train a fresher in this skill set and then we hire these people. That is why you can't see any opening less than 3 years. You can't find these openings on Naukri. Am I right? You might have applied to a lot of job on Naukri. Okay, but they might be, the skill set requirement might be more. And even if you are seeing a fresher opening, for every fresher opening, around more than 5,000 to 10,000 people apply to that. And not all these 5,000 to 10,000 people know all this. Out of this 5,000 to 10,000 people, maybe 50 to 100 may or may not know remastering, may or may not know close volume. Okay, so they only call the people who have the right skill set, who have the right portfolio for the interview. Am I right? Okay, so for example, you can't find 0 to 3 years openings on Naukri or LinkedIn. Even if you find, it will be very, very low. Okay, so this is what is happening. Like I'm talking about traditional hiring process. If you go apply on Naukri or LinkedIn, you would be competing with 5,000 candidates in the market. Okay, for every job opening, just like you, more than 5,000 people will apply to that. Out of this 5,000 candidates, they will be applying to that. Then out of this 5,000 candidates, there will be an ATS filtering. ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. Okay, so when you put your when you drop your CV, to the hiring manager, they don't see all the CVs. Okay, it directly goes to a filtering. It directly goes to their database. In the database, they'll have a filtering system called ATS. For example, if I'm going to hire for plastic trims, I'll be typing. If I am the hiring manager, I'll type trims, I'll type dog houses, I'll type clips, I'll type snap fits, I'll type a keyword. Okay. If your resume has that right keyword, your resume will come to me. If your resume does not have the keyword, it won't come to me. So if you say mention that I know Katia, I know Creo, I know Ansys, your resume will not come to me at all. Okay, so the keyword is very important. I'll be looking for domain keywords. I won't be typing Katia V5 because if I type a Katia V5, all 5,000 people will mention Katia V5. So Katia V5 is not my keyword here. I'm not looking for a person who knows Katia V5 here. I'm looking for a person who knows plastics. Am I clear? There's a huge difference between knowing a software and between working on a domain. So my keyword will be the domain keyword. It won't be the software keyword. And that is why you are not being called for interviews. Let's say, yeah, I don't need a person who knows domain. I need a person who knows Cat V5, but to the extreme expert level. Then my keyword will not be Cat V5. My keyword will be remastering. My keyword will be close volume. My keyword will be dog houses. My keyword will be master sections. If your resume has the right master section, dog houses, or if your resume has bracket and reinforcement design, or remastering, or close volume, or class A to class B conversion, or draft analysis, then your resume will be shortlisted. And then after the resume, then the HR person will directly contact the candidate. He'll see whether he has the right candidate or he has mentioned only for namesake. Okay, many people just write the keyword, but they might not have the knowledge. So then out of this 100 people, I'll be calling only 50 people for interview. So here during the software tool test, only 50 out of 5,000, 50 will be called for tool test. Out of this 50, 10 will be called for a technical interview, or let's say 15 will be called for technical interview, and then 5 will be selected. So from 5,000, we'll be selecting only 5. Okay, this is what is happening in the traditional hiring system. And companies this entire process was taking around 3 to 4 months. Okay, so if you to complete this entire process, companies were taking 3 to 4 months to hire a right person. For example, if they have an opening in October, they'll start the hiring process in March. In March, they'll put the opening. There'll be a lot of people applying to that. And from April, May, they will be calling for interviews. After interviews, then they will be hiring the person in October. Okay, it was a big process and companies had to invest a lot of time in that. Now comes the referral process. Okay, this is the current process which is happening in the industry now. Okay, so now when a company has 5 or 10 openings, this 10 openings, we will get it. Okay, as a hiring partner, we tie up with companies, we will get the hiring opening. For example, if there are 5 openings for plastics, I'll get 5 openings from the project manager directly asking me. So I need 5 people who has good knowledge on IP subassembly. I need 5 people who has good knowledge on door trim. I need 5 people who has good on working on bumper system. So I will be training the 5 people. These 5 people for example, if they're hiring in July, I'll get the requirement in March. In March, we'll start the training program. We'll train the people we'll train the 5 people in the exact requirement. In July, we'll be sending the 5 people to the interview directly. There won't be any HR screening. There won't be any ATS system. They will directly go to instead of this ATS filtering, job application, ATS filtering, and the hiring system, these 3 will be bypassed. The person will directly go to the interview. So he will go to the interview. During the interview, we'll be telling them what kind of tool test will come. We'll teach them the tool test. They'll complete the interview. Then they'll go through the interview process. Then the second round of technical interview will be completed. And the 5 or 10 people whom we send, they will be selected. So this entire process will take 10 days to complete. So instead of companies spending 3 or 4 months, they now hire people within 10 days because they give the requirement to us 4 months before. We train the candidate. The entire interview process for the company will take 10 days. They hire the candidate. So in a year, companies hire only 5 to 10 positions, and this 5 to 10 positions will be filled here this way. Am I clear till this point? Do we have any questions? Do you understand how the hiring happens right now in the industry?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's already 11 o'clock. There'll be some 10 to 15 more minutes more session. Okay, I'll explain you. See, this is actually a project manager from this. Okay, so usually we get such kind of requirement. Okay, so we are directly connected to the project managers. We get requirements like this. So directly they are looking for 20 candidates who are good at category 5 and who have worked on manufacturing part design. So they give us the entire exact requirement. This is actually the requirement which usually we got. Okay, so they have some few requirements here. Okay, so they have given us a requirement. What is the purpose of the training? What is the training requirement? What kind of training to be given to the student? Okay, so usually they don't hire from other many different institutes. They partner with very few industry partners like us, like Disenosys, where we directly get the requirement from them. So week on week, they'll tell us what to train them. So we will be training the candidate. At the end of the requirement, this is the kind of skill set matrix they will be looking for. We'll be sending the skill set matrix to them. Certification method, they will tell us how to evaluate everyone. So if you see this, so a person will be going through the complete training. So week on week, we'll be sharing what kind of models they have worked, how they are getting trained. This will be shared with the project manager directly. So every week we'll be sharing this entire process to the automotive company, to the project manager directly. So for the entire 4 months, the candidate who is getting trained, the project manager will know the candidate. The candidate will not know the project manager, but the project manager will know the candidate, what he is doing, what he is learning. So by the end of 4 months, the project manager will know what models he has worked, what skill set he has. So this is week 7. So advanced surface modeling, door trims, roof. And like week 8, we move into, this is week number 9. Yeah, week number 9, we move into close volume and they'll give you the input. So you'll have to create this output features. Week number 10, assembly. So you have to know how to create an assembly. Week number 11, you need to know rib design. Then finally, there'll be a tool test. Okay, the tool test will be conducted by the client and we will be conducting one more tool test. So before you go to sit in the actual tool test, we will be training you. We will be conducting multiple tool tests for you to clear the actual technical interview with the client. Okay, so there'll be tool test 1, 2, 3, multiple tool tests will be given. And so these are all tool tests which we had given. And finally, drafting, and we'll teach Team Center also, Team Center overview. So Team Center is the product lifecycle management, PLM. So PLM we teach, and then finally you will be working on the capstone project. See, the report will be with the resume, your portfolios. So the portfolio, everything will be sharing with the client. So whatever you have worked, this is how your portfolio should look like. Your portfolio you should have worked on automotive components like this, and this portfolio should be shared to the project manager directly. If you share only the resume, your resume will not get shortlisted. Okay, your portfolio should look like this, and your product reports, You'll be working on different multiple reports like this. So this is your portfolio report. Okay, so you'll have to create reports like this. So this report will be shared with the client, which is also very, very important. And apart from that, so your report will be shared, your capstone project. Okay, so this is your capstone project. So if you see this capstone project, you'll get a very good idea. Okay, how your actual work will be. Okay, this is the input. Okay, so your automotive company will give you input like this. Sorry, this is not the input, this is the output. Okay, so this is the input. Okay, so in any automotive company, you'll get this as your input. Okay, so you'll get a class A surface. It won't be parametric. They won't have anything. You will have to create the working geometry. So if you see the working geometry, see this project usually took 2 to 3 weeks to complete the project alone. So in working geometry, you can see, okay, so he has stated the input, he has created it. Okay, so here you can see this. Okay, this is the input. And from here, so this first left vent, you have to create the left vent first. Then you have to create your instrument cluster. Okay, so instrument cluster, you have to create it on your own. So from the input, you have to design the surrounding features. Okay, so your right vent, your lower cover, okay, your center console, the center vent, sorry, center vent, and your so here, so these are the components that you have to create. So once you create all this, then you create a final body. So in your final body, you have to create all this. You have to create your engineering features. Okay, so you have to create all this engineering features. So this is the final requirement of the client. So for a fresher or for a junior engineer, usually a person who has only 5 years experience will have worked on this. But right now, we have trained even freshers to this level. Even a fresher can work on this level. So right now, that is the reason companies are looking to take in freshers now. Because previously companies were not willing to take in freshers because they do not have this knowledge. Now we have made sure that even a fresher can work to up to this level. So companies are now open to take in freshers. Okay, am I clear? So this is actually the requirement. So after the project, we'll be sharing this. Yeah, we'll be sharing the entire folder to the client. Okay, so with the remastering models, okay, with the classic models, and your final models will be shared with the client. Am I clear to this point? So usually this is how we get the requirement from a client, and the requirement will be filled internally. So this requirement, we directly get it and we fill it internally. So how can we help you? We directly consult, we directly talk to student, then we train the student, we provide them the right certification, we prepare the resume for them, with the right keyword. Then you undergo a mock interview. In the interview, we tell you what kind of interview tool test will come, how to prepare for the tool test. Then in a second round of interview, what kind of questions will come in your technical round? How do you clear the technical round? So you have to clear your tool test. You have to clear your technical round. Then we directly share your profile directly to the project manager. You go to the interview and you get hired. Am I clear till this point? Okay. So, see, currently, usually this training will last for 4 to 5 months. But right now we have few openings coming up in August and September. So we are completing this training in 3 months' time. Yes, we are giving this training online, completely online. Okay, so the training will be a live session. It will be given online through a industry professional from Sweden. Okay, so the mentor who is teaching you, he is an 20+ years experience person from Sweden, and he will be training you in all this concept. Okay, so the training will be like for 2 hours per session, and after 2 hours on weekdays, weekends, the training will be only on weekends because a lot of people in this training will be from working people who are all already working. So we conduct that live classes only on weekends, and weekdays, a lot of projects will be assigned to you. So which you will have to complete it on the weekdays. These projects will be shared with the client on a weekly basis. Okay. Yes. So what are the fees? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, asking for the support, yes, we do support. Okay, so the training will be on weekends, but weekdays you will have complete training. We'll have a team here, support team here. So whatever projects you are working on, you will get complete support on the weekdays as well. Okay, so you are talking about if coming down to the fees. So when we So the basic knowledge required is CATIA surface remastering, close volume, and fundamentals. So these two are required to clear the tool test. Okay, and this is required to clear the technical interview. Okay, and there are a lot of people who might know already this CATIA designer. Okay, so if you already know how to work on multi-body methodology, how to work on copy with associativity, how to work on power copies, how to work using formulas and rules. Okay, then you don't have to learn CATIA designer, because if you know only the basics of CATIA, then if the tool test comes in CATIA designer and if you're not able to use the right commands, then you'll be rejected. So if you are very sure about working on multi-body methodology, if you are really very sure about knowing how to use CATIA as per the automotive industry, then you can skip this. If you already know CATIA surfacing, then you can skip this. But if you want to have complete knowledge, if you want to be clearly selected and know everything, then you have to know everything. Okay, and the total fee comes to 1.53. But if you take the whole thing as a package, your total fees would be 1.4 lakh. If you don't want this, these two are optional, but these three are mandatory for any automotive job. Okay, for our clients, these three are mandatory. So if you're looking for a direct placement with this thing, these three alone will cost around 90K. Okay, so if you already know CATIA, you can pay only 90K and get this trained and get selected in automotive company. Am I clear? Okay. See, the training, we have the requirement. I think I already showed you the requirement. Okay. See, for these two projects, yeah. So for these two, this is one from TCS and one from 4. We have already got the training has started for these two batches. Okay. Even if you want to join this batch and if you want to join for batch, currently we have started the remastering for that. Okay. If you already know CATIA, you can directly start with the remastering. Okay, for Ford and these two will be hired in July and August. Okay, apart from that, we have one more requirement from, again, we have one requirement. Okay, so this is the requirement. So for this requirement, they are hiring in October and we have to give them the profile by September. So for this, we have 3 months time. So if you are a complete fresher without any knowledge on CATIA or anything, then we are starting the training program from tomorrow. June, July, August. By the mid of August, I have to share the profile to them. By the mid of August, I have to share the profile to them, and the interviews will be conducted in September. And from the project will be starting from October. The deployment will start from October for this project alone. Okay. And yeah, what will be the growth and salary? Okay, so for any automotive company, okay, the starting salary would be 4 to 5 LPA for freshers. If you have 2 years experience in automotive, relevant experience, your starting salary can get up to 7 to 8 LPA for experienced people. For freshers, it will be 4 to 5 LPA. Okay, that is why we work only with automotive, because see, when you talk about design, you have multiple design. You have design in semiconductor industry, you have design in locomotive, you have design in special purpose machineries, you have design in manufacturing industry. But all these design profile will use a different software. They might use CATIA, they might use SolidWorks, they might use Solid Edge, they might use Creo. And the starting package will be 2 to 2.5 or 2.5 to 3 LPA. They don't go up to 4 LPA. Okay, so if you start with a 4 LPA package, I'll show you one. So automotive companies, they pay up to 4 LPA for a fresher. Okay, but when you start your pay with a SolidWorks startup job or in a small scale industry, or if you're starting as a design engineer in manufacturing, and if you think that, let's say I'll gain some experience in SolidWorks for 2 years, and then if I can try to move into automotive, that doesn't work. Okay, because automotive companies will only look for relevant experience. So if you think that I'll start my career as a SolidWorks engineer and after 2 to 3 years gaining experience, I can move into automotive, it doesn't work like that. We don't hire people from a different background. If you want to get hired in automotive, you have to start from automotive. You need to have relevant experience. So both aerospace and automotive shares the same kind of skill set requirement. So even if you have relevant experience in automotive, your profile will be considered for aero jobs in future. So you can move into aero jobs in future. Also, we are also tied up with aero companies in India. Okay, from Boeing, Bell Helicopters, Airbus, we are directly connected with them. We get requirements from them as well. So the training what you are going through here will be useful for aerospace as well. Only the candidate who are able to pay, they get the payment. They have to pay first. They have to attend the training, and only these 10 requirements we are having a very short, very small requirement. Only 10 candidates will be hired. 10 to 15 candidates will be trained. They only the 10 to 15 candidates will be hired. And after we complete the hiring process in July and August, there won't be any hiring in September, October, November, December, and January. The next hiring will only be in February 2027. So I have shared my number. It's 9944478700. Thank you very much for joining the session. Thank you all.